Hey everyone, this is Gale from PaulGaleNetwork.com, and thank you for joining me today for video game news. It is October 18th, 2021, and these are the top stories of the day. To kick things off, we have something fun to check out from Pokemon. Evie joins Pikachu for the 95th Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. You can't miss this new balloon. At Macy's, hashtag Macy's Parade. That's kind of cool. We've seen Pikachu at the Macy's Parade for a number of years now, but here we've got a brand new balloon and Eevee's joining, so that's kind of cool. Pikachu returns and Eevee joins the 2021 Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. It's a nice balloon. It's cute. That should be kind of fun to watch Thanksgiving morning. All right, quick little thing out of the way. Let's get into another image. Nintendo released this. This isn't really news, it's just that Nintendo released their holiday image, which features some new artwork, and we've got Mario, Princess Peach, Toad, and Yoshi, along with a superstar, looking pretty snug and elegant in Princess Peach's case for the holidays. Will anything come of it? Probably not. Unless if Nintendo's like, hey, we're going to also drop the trailer to the Super Mario CG movie, this December as a present to all of you in anticipation of the film itself coming out 1 year later, which would be December 21st, 2022. But I don't think so. I think it's still a little too early for a trailer. Maybe not, though. Could we get a teaser glimpse before the end of the year? Maybe. But 12 months in advance, definitely possible, but to be on the safe side, I think that they'll hold it off a little bit longer and sometime early 2022 show us a glimpse of the film. But we'll see. Regardless, for now, nice little artwork. Okay, we're kind of moving along quickly because the last thing is really the most newsworthy thing to talk about. But before we get there, we've got one more piece, and that is a rumor. So, the Nintendo Switch has been out for a little over 4.5 years. Of course, we've had the Nintendo Switch drop in March of 2017. It has stayed firmly at $300 ever since. 2 years later, it got the red box version with the better quality battery that lasts longer, but otherwise was the same system. Also in 2019, we got the Nintendo Switch Lite. Fast forward 2 years, we just had the recently released Nintendo Switch Oled model. A bigger screen, same system internally. The dock a little bit changed with the ability to output in 4K. Nintendo including a higher speed HDMI cable with the OLED model. Of course, the screen being glass instead of plastic, 7 inches instead of 6.2. OLED instead of LCD panel. The bigger kickstand, better quality kickstand as well. A LAN port in the dock, 64 gigs internal memory instead of 32 for storage capabilities, and better quality speakers. So a significant upgrade, a price bump to $350. There's lots of talks of, well, is there going to be a Nintendo Switch Plus or a Pro? Or will Nintendo release a Nintendo Switch 2 as their next system? They really had the DS and 3DS have a lot of iterations, and they were kind of able to drag out the length of those systems quite a bit. But also, they had another console to fall back on. They could get away with lots of DS revisions because they saw it was successful and they kept on improving on the formula. But they had a Wii during that era that, if a DS revision didn't work out so well, the Wii would make up for it. 3DS and Wii U, well, Wii U didn't really work out well for them, but they still took that risk and actually kind of became their priority with the 3DS. They really needed to make it, their strongest pillar, their video game console that competed in the market, even if it was portably, because Wii U wasn't holding its own. With Nintendo Switch, they have to be careful because on the one hand, this is really a powerful Nintendo system. It bridged the gap between hardware manufacturing for console and portable and made it into one. It bridged the gap between Nintendo internally developing for home consoles and portable consoles and then shifted them together. And then now you have this ecosystem of folks that are talented at the company making hardware, making software for portable and console on all sides of the spectrum working together. And they have great leadership, and they really have a chance at making the Nintendo Switch a powerful name, more so than it already has been for the last 4.5 years, and really drag out the generation longer. But you don't want to drag it out too long so that you get to this point where there's too great of a gap, too great of a level of disparity between this old tech that is Switch from 2017 and more distinct difference between it and what PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X can produce, you know? We saw this with Wii, where at the end of Wii's life cycle, it was like, okay, it was noticeable in the beginning of launch that it's not as powerful of a system as PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, but it didn't matter so much. Towards the end, it became more and more apparent, and then we got Wii U a little bit too late, I think, and that's another story for another day. But you don't want that to happen with Switch. But with Switch, we're going to be entering the 5th year soon, and honestly, we have so much stronger of a year 5, which will begin March 3rd, 2022, than Wii in its 5th year. So I think the outlook is solid when it comes to, Bayonetta 3, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, Metroid Prime 4, Triangle Strategy, new Kirby title. We've got some heavy hitters coming next year and some surprises along the way. But what is Nintendo going to do regarding hardware? Will they have another model? Well, that's going back. That was kind of a long intro to the main topic of discussion here, and that is the rumor of another Nintendo Switch console being added to the library, to the family, and that is an all-digital edition. The Nintendo Switch Digital Edition is rumored to be in development, and it would have an OLED screen like the OLED model does, but be more affordable and kind of be this in-between system where it's cheaper than the regular OLED model, but more expensive than the Lite. And there are different rumors that really are conflicting. Some say this is the model that phases out the regular Switch because it's that price in between, and it's cheaper than the regular OLED because it doesn't have a compartment for cartridges. Okay. Some are saying no, this is actually a Nintendo Switch Plus. This is going to be one of 2 Nintendo Switch Pro units, if you want to call them that, where Nintendo, a year or a year and a half from now, is going to release 2 Nintendo Switch 4K models, and one will be cheaper, which will be all digital, and one will be more expensive as a result, and be able to hold cartridges as well. And at that point, though, if that latter case is true, you have a lot of different SKUs on the market. You've got Switch Lite, the regular Switch, a Switch OLED, and then potentially 2 more Switch 4K models, one being digital and one being not. Or do you take away this, regular Switch model and make that the all digital? Or there's another rumor that gets added onto this, and this is actually the Nintendo Switch 2, and that Nintendo's going to go all digital for the future. I don't see that one happening, honestly. I don't think that you could get away with an all digital platform yet without having any type of physical medium access on a system. Could this be, and once again, one more layer onto the rumor mill, Nintendo Switch 2 is going to have 2 SKUs. A digital only with that DLSS technology, more powerful hardware, better CPU, GPU, larger internal storage, all that stuff, all digital for one of them, and a completely physical one on the side with, being able to handle physical medium. That seems a little bit more likely of a scenario. Of all of these, I don't think they're going to phase out necessarily the regular Nintendo Switch and then drop in its place a digital version only with the OLED model and stuff. I don't know if I buy that one too much. Two separate Switch Plus, Switch 4K SKUs, maybe. Two separate Nintendo Switch 2 SKUs, yeah, I think I could see that. Then again, maybe the OLED model is the one that phases out the regular Switch, and then now you've got Switch Lite at $200. No more regular Switch. You've got the OLED model that drops to $300, and then you have a $350 digital version of Switch 2 and a $450 all cartridge-based, everything digital encompassing version of Switch 2. $450. That puts it at $50 less for a physical version next-gen console than Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5. $350 makes it a powerhouse next-gen console that can also be played portably but only have digital games, which puts it at $50 less than a PlayStation 5 digital version, $50 more than an Xbox Series S, but once again, you'd get that portable factor in it. $450, $350. $300 for a base OLED. All right. I think dropping that $350 OLED to $250 is too big of a gap, but going from $350 to $300 is more reasonable. Maybe, like I said, you phased out that OG Switch, or maybe you have another SKU and it just drops itself from $300 to $250. And then you have the Lite, which gets a small drop to like $170 from $200 or $150. I mean, that's a lot to take in. You don't want to saturate the market with too many products available at once, unless if there's a very distinct difference in the marketing strategy behind all of them. And you let players know what they're getting. There's even a rumor of Nintendo Switch Lite being phased out, and this digital version is actually another version of Switch Lite. It's a smaller Nintendo Switch. It's got a smaller screen. Yes, it is OLED, but since it is portable, and we found that most Nintendo Switch Lite users are, playing games digitally anyways, that's going to be the digital OLED model, and it's kind of replacing Switch Lite, or maybe it runs alongside it. I don't know. Part of this is speculation. Part of this is just different rumors that I'm hearing from different outlets and trying to make sense of it all, put my own thoughts on it. So I don't really know what to think exactly. I think the safest bet, and probably the best, is that there isn't just one new Switch that's either 4K or 2 that's only digital, and that it is just, one component of Nintendo's strategy. Either it's a comparable model in terms of power, identical in terms of power, digital version that's just being thrown in there. Something new to keep kind of the momentum going forward, keep the Nintendo Switch on people's minds, in circulation of the industry for a little longer, increasing the length of the system's life before you do a Nintendo Switch 2 proper. Or that two model dropping at once, digital and physical, capable of a Switch 4K or of a Switch 2. And then there's this whole other talk going on kind of on the side of, is the system going to be backwards compatible or not? This is kind of a 2-in-1 discussion, I suppose, because I am bringing that up. There are rumors that are going around that the Nintendo Switch 2, if you want to call it that for now, might not be backwards compatible, or that it's currently not in the plannings. They haven't figured it out yet because of a different chipset, going from Tegra X1 to something new and trying to make it all work. It would work best, I think, in Nintendo's favor if it was a backwards compatible platform. Although if it's not, you could make the argument that Nintendo could continuously sell the Nintendo Switch now at a reduced price, and as long as they're creating original games still for it with this massive 100 plus million install base by that time in the system's life and are creating games for Nintendo Switch 2 independently, or new games that come out are able to, be played on either one. But is it, one digital file that could transfer between? Is it one cartridge that works on both or not? Are you selling a Nintendo Switch cartridge that won't work on the Switch 2 and a Switch 2 cartridge that, of course, wouldn't work on the other Switch? Too much of that gets kind of funky, and they've got to make it clear. They've got to, have their profits and do what's best for business, but also respecting your audience and giving them as much as you can while, still making smart business decisions. That's important, and I think, it's not always the easiest. From the consumer standpoint, it's like, oh yeah, just make it backwards compatible. But from a business standpoint, sometimes, well, how much more money is it going to have to be put into the system, and how much more do we have to charge for the console, and how much do we eat? And there's a lot to it. But I'm excited. I think Nintendo has a pretty good track record overall of making systems backward compatible. Game Boy games could be played on Game Boy Color. Of course, they're part of the same gen, but it's worth saying. Game Boy and Game Boy Color games could be played on Game Boy Advance. Game Boy Advance games could be played on the Nintendo DS. Nintendo DS games could be played on the Nintendo 3DS. With the Super Game Boy, you could play Game Boy and Game Boy Color games on the Super Nintendo. With the Game Boy player, you could play Game Boy Advance games on the Nintendo GameCube. Wii could play Nintendo GameCube games. Wii U could play Wii games. So quite several Nintendo platforms you could natively play without any other apparatus added on the previous system's titles. A couple of those systems, with an additional accessory, you could play backwards compatible games from, a portable era on a home console. So that was pretty cool. So that's not every system, but a lot of them are. And I think with Nintendo Switch 2, the best thing is it's a backwards compatible system. When it comes out, there's a clear marketing distinction. It costs more. It looks different. It's got a little bit different of a form factor. You stick with TV. You stick with handheld. You stick with, tabletop mode as an option. It has some games being made exclusively for it. Some games that are exclusively for it, you'll still get a cloud version if possible to run on the original Nintendo Switch. But for a couple of years in this Nintendo Switch 2's life, Nintendo themselves are still supporting Nintendo Switch. At this point, you further reduce the prices of the Lite, of the OG Switch, of the OLED model. If there is some type of, digital only one that comes out at some point, you make the pricing fair. You release a player's choice line. You and me watching this, probably are a big video gamer, But there are a lot of gamers out there that are on the more casual side where they're not eager to jump up and buy a $300 system, buy a $500 system at launch. They've got small families developing. They're kind of a lapsed gamer. They don't mind an additional accessory in their household, a device that plays games, but they could wait a few years. That's the market that they'll impulse buy at $100, or they'll buy something at $150. When games have that player's choice, greatest hits, whatever seal on them, and the games that they heard about for the last 5 years, 6 years, like Super Mario Odyssey, oh my gosh, you should try it out. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Breath of the Wild, Smash Brothers, only $30 now? Oh, okay, cool. That's my buy-in point. There's a big market for that. It exists in the, phone market. How many times does Apple release a new model iPhone, but their old iPhone models get dropped? There's a new, cheaper model that comes out with older tech mixed with a new look, and they sell very well. Not everyone has the money or the luxury to buy every piece of cutting-edge technology as it gets released. So there's definitely a market for an original Nintendo Switch to still be supported while a new one is pushing that envelope, and once again, retaining what Nintendo has done so well for the last 4.5 years, and that's be the talk of the town. Even as a new PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X came out, Nintendo Switch felt like a very strong, healthy system. The interest didn't wane like it eventually did with Wii at this point in its life, you know? It's still strong. So you don't want to abuse it and take for granted how powerful of a platform you have, but you also don't want to cut ties with that fan base, you know? There's a lot to think of, and I think Nintendo internally is probably going over multiple scenarios and having test market data and stuff like that. So it's intriguing. I would love to be on that board and just talk about all of these different things, because I'm sure they have their teams that are doing just that. But if I could contribute in a way and help formulate a strategy, that would be a lot of fun. All right. We actually have that one last thing to talk about, and that is something huge. Matt Piscatella, cool guy, over from the NPD group. I have had several conversations with him, and he's always helpful, friendly. He just dropped today the September 2021 US NPD thread. I will read some of the data, I will scroll down some of the charts, and then I will stop and we will focus a little bit on one particular thing that he announced today. To start off though, September 2021 consumer spending across video game hardware, content, and accessories grew 3% when compared to a year ago, reaching a September record $4.4 billion. Year-to-date spending reached $42.3 billion, a 12% increase versus a year ago. So that's awesome. September jumped up. The year-to-date has jumped up. Pretty considerable, right? Thank you, Matt, as always, for putting up these charts. I appreciate it. You know, I love my stats. I love my video game sales data. So for me, this is all intriguing. Here's the spot where I said we would stop at for a little bit. Yes, US NPD hardware. PlayStation 5 was the best-selling hardware platform of September in both units and dollars. Whew, it's the end of an era. PlayStation 5 is the best-selling hardware platform of 2021 year-to-date in dollars, while Nintendo Switch leads in units. Followed by, right here, US NPD hardware. September 2021 snaps the remarkable 33 consecutive month streak that Nintendo Switch was the market's leading platform in hardware unit sales. November 2018 was the last month a platform other than Nintendo Switch led the market in unit sales, which was PlayStation 4. Wow. Congratulations to Nintendo. We knew that this day was coming eventually. I originally said that if they could take August and September, there's a pretty good chance that they take the holidays. But they took August, but if they did not take September, that was going to bring up some more discussion of what the holidays were going to look like. I mean, I still think that Nintendo has a better chance than not to win some of the holiday months, meaning October, November, December. But I just mean in terms of the streak continuing, because August or September, particularly September, was the month where I thought this one might not work out for them. August concluded 33 consecutive months. Nintendo Switch has the record for the most amount of consecutive months at number one in US history. Xbox 360, if I'm not mistaken, was in lead of number one consecutive months. In fact, I know it was, but what I'm trying to get at, that the part that I'm, if I'm not mistaken in, is that it was also the month of September in 2013 where PlayStation 3 overtook Xbox 360, ending its multi-consecutive month streak. So kind of funny that history repeats itself, and this time it's PlayStation 5 taking Nintendo Switch's spot. So 33 months is fantastic, but here's the thing. You know, we see the weekly sales data coming from Japan's Famitsu charts, and you see that Ever since the Nintendo Switch OLED model was revealed in July, you've had fewer systems being sold, sometimes week by week, most of those weeks being less compared to the previous years, respectively. And in September, if that's going on in Japan, it's happening in North America too. People are in anticipation of the OLED model, so yeah, Nintendo Switch is still selling well. It's still delivering good numbers, nothing wrong with software and stuff like that, but more people than not are holding off. We're holding off for that October 8th OLED debut. Had it not been for that, maybe Nintendo Switch would have reigned supreme and held on to it and had a 34th month in September, I do think that if Nintendo wanted to, if they really cared about the streak, which is more of a thing that fans are obsessed with. Although back in the day, Xbox did have this campaign where every month after the NPD charts would come out, they would say, now so-and-so month of being number one in the United States. Now another month of being number one. So they were hopping onto that, which kind of added to, it's from a marketing strategy too, because other people read that and say, oh, there must be a reason why they're number one. It's not a lie, right? No. Well, cool. Maybe that's a system that I buy. So that's a thing too. Of course, Wii was the overall number one best-selling console of that generation, but Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 were kind of neck and neck. But anyways, I think if Nintendo wanted to continue the streak for September, they could have had a temporary 1 week long, September 13th Nintendo anniversary sale for that week of the 13th through the 20th, where Nintendo Switch temporarily got reduced to $250. Just a 1 week sale. Bam, bust through inventory. People thinking now, I could wait 5 weeks until that OLED model, get it for $350, which is only $50 more. Yeah, I'll wait. Or, the Switch dropped to $250. That's $100 difference. I'll buy it. You still have people wait, but dropping the Switch from $300 to $250, dropping the Lite, which doesn't sell typically as well as the regular Switch in the first place, drop it temporarily from $200 to $170, $150. Maybe it's too big of a drop, but $170. You've got some more impulse buyers, or you pack it in with a game at $200 and throw in an Animal Crossing or a Mario Kart, even a Smash Brothers. It doesn't really matter. Nintendo Switch will be back at number one at some point. I'm sure we will have more PlayStation 5 months at number one. I wouldn't be surprised if Xbox Series S and X combined have, some number one months. But it's going to be interesting because the holidays are here, essentially, with October being kind of lumped in as a holiday month almost. And Nintendo Switch OLED model just dropped. Xbox Series S and X are more plentiful than ever now in stores. PlayStation 5 is upping shipments to retailers and online through Amazon and such. So it looks like October would be Nintendo's month after just losing one, but I wouldn't be surprised if, in anticipation for Halo Infinite, maybe Xbox Series X takes it. Maybe PlayStation 5 takes it, because the hype and the demand is so high, if the stock could just reach those levels a little bit closer, maybe that's enough for PS5. Then we've got November and December, typically very big months for Nintendo. Big for everyone, but even bigger for Nintendo. We've got the Pokemon effect happening. I don't know, it's going to be exciting. I love this stuff. I live for the battle to unfold. And then we've got the whole 2022, a full 12 months where I don't think we're going to get anybody with 12 consecutive months. I think this thing is going to bounce around. We'll have a healthy OLED model. We'll have a Pokemon Legends Arceus. Next year we're going to have a new God of War. We're going to have Gran Turismo. We don't know when Perfect Dark's coming, but we've got Perfect Dark on the way, a Fable on the way, Elden Ring on the way. That's a January release. We've got Horizon Zero Dawn, or Forbidden West, I should say. So it's exciting. It's really cool. Breath of the Wild 2 at some point, Bayonetta 3. And that's what I mean. Nintendo Switch as a 5.5-year-old system eventually at some point in 2022, come September, is so healthy that they're in the best position of any of the three right now to really continue on and just not lose hype. Nintendo Switch could end up being the best-selling system ever. It could pass 160 million. I personally think it will definitely hit 140, has a good chance of 160. Depending on when Nintendo releases the Nintendo Switch 2, it could be like a 210 million selling system. Whew. that was a fun little deep dive into the sales right there. NPD software for the month. Madden NFL 2022 repeated as the best-selling game of the month. It now ranks as the number 2 best-selling game of 2021 year to date and is the 4th best-selling game title of the 12-month period ending September 2021. Madden NFL 22 led on both PlayStation and Xbox. That's crazy. For a game that came out, in August, not even being out for a full 2 months in the year, month and a half at most, is the second best-selling game of the whole 2021 year to date, and the 4th best between last September and this September's end. That's pretty wild. Tales of Arise set a new launch month dollar sales record for any Tales of franchise. Tales of Arise ranks as the 4th best-selling game of September 2021. That's cool. Got Life is Strange. WarioWare together debuted as the 15th overall best-selling game of September, also ranking number 2 on Switch. That's telling. The second best-selling game on Switch happened to be the 15th best-selling game for the month. All right, cool. Did pretty well. Highest launch month of a WarioWare franchise since Smoother Moves back in 2007. Good. Good to see that True Colors, Life is Strange, generated the highest launch month dollar sales for any Life is Strange title to date. Let's see. All platforms? Let's check out this. Let's check out the all platforms. Madden NFL 22, FIFA 22, NBA 2K 22, Tales of Arise, Diablo 2 Resurrected, Deathloop, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, Ghost of Tsushima, Marvel, Spider-Man Miles Morales, Life is Strange, True Colors, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Diablo Primeval Edition, Sonic Colors Ultimate, Minecraft, WarioWare, Get It Together, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Animal Crossing New Horizons, Call of Duty Modern Warfare from 2019, and Mortal Kombat 11. A good mix of titles on there. We had quite a few new releases, a good amount of sports games, some, games that are brought back from the past via remake like Diablo 2. Some old school titles, well, I call them old school now because they've been out for several years, like Mario Kart 8, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Mortal Kombat 11, all faring well. Of course, we have heavy hitters like Animal Crossing still in there. Ghost of Tsushima probably got a nice boost that's still hanging on there from the director's cut that got released. It's awesome to see Spider-Man Miles Morales doing well because that's another great game that deserves to be there. Sonic Colors Ultimate, even with all that controversy, still did well. We'll see how well it does in October though, because after that word of mouth spread in September, October may paint a different picture. Then again, Sega has been working internally to fix some of those problems across the board, so things might improve. Minecraft, yeah, overall pretty cool for September. And year to date, why not? Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, Madden 22, MLB, The Show 21, Resident Evil Village, Super Mario 3D World, not including digital sales when you look at the Nintendo games, Miles Morales, Mario Kart 8, Minecraft, Monster Hunter Rise, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Really cool seeing Monster Hunter Rise, a game that came out on one platform amongst all of the big Nintendo heavy hitters, all of the third-party and first-party software on PlayStation and Xbox, being right there at number 9. Very strong, very solid. I don't know how much more I'll go in. We've got individual charts. You can just go check out Matt Piscatella over on Twitter. Like I said, he's a really cool person. Nice. He corresponds back and forth with audience, fans, and yeah, Okay, we've got the Xbox Elite Series 2 wireless controller, which repeated as the best-selling accessory of September, while the PS5 DualSense wireless controller White remains the best-selling accessory of 2021 year-to-date. Yeah, it's going to be an exciting as can be holiday season. The next 3 months, which, by the way, coming up soon, within a week or so, we'll get the fiscal report for Nintendo's last quarter from July 1st through September 30th. That unfortunately won't show us how well Metroid Dread did unless if Nintendo drops that information on the side. But at the very least, we'll get those 3 months, see if Nintendo Switch got close to 94 million, which I'm expecting it's right around there. You know, how much more did Animal Crossing and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe sell in that time? Yeah. I'm pumped. I'm pumped. It's going to be good holidays. Everyone's eating well. If you have enough money, if you have enough time to own all three, ninth gen platforms, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X or S, by all means, go for it. There's plenty of value in there on all three systems. If you're a solo console owner, I think no matter what you have, you're still going to be having a good time. Yeah. And don't forget, last little bit of news, Sora drops today in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. That's pretty awesome. It'll be interesting to see if we have a little bit of an increase in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate sales come October in the United States, Japan, Europe, worldwide. Oh, yeah. Exciting stuff. All right. That was a lot of fun talking. This is Paul Gale from paulgalenetwork.com signing out. Thank you so much for joining me, and let me know what you thought about today's topics. Kind of ended up being more of a video game talk day, didn't it? A couple of those discussions definitely did, at least. All right. PGN signing out. Take it easy. Bye.